Welcome back to another episode of the Tracy Take. It is the month of August, so you know what that means in the football world. It is time to start preparing for the all-important fantasy draft, and that is what Ryan and I are here to talk about today. This episode, we're going to be talking about some sleeper QBs that you might want to take a look at. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button down at the bottom so you can get notified when we create new videos, and also hit that like bell if you, kind of like what we have to say. If not, do it anyways for us, please. But anyways, so one of the things, Ryan, I know we discussed about this, but obviously there are the quarterbacks out there, that everyone would love to have, like the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jacksons, the Kyler Murray's, Justin Herbert. I think is going to be up there as well.
Yeah.
But really, what we want to focus on in this video, and we both picked two quarterbacks that we think would be great QB2s, or if you're also in a two quarterback league, or also if you just need a solid quarterback to have your backup that you might be able to get in the 10th or 11th round. That's really kind of what we're going for this. And so just kind of leading off the bat, who's going to be your number one sleeper pick? Keep an eye out on the draft.
My number one sleeper pick is going to be the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. So he started 10 games last year, and he had a 65.3% completion percentage, which is really good. But he didn't necessarily get the ball down the field that much. He only had about 2,700 yards and only 13 passing touchdowns. However, I think that offensive line is improved, and he definitely has more weapons this year. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and then an underrated passing back is Joe Mixon. So I really think that Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback who's right now his average ADP is 86, which is round 9, pick 6. So you can get him in the back half of the draft, and I think you're probably getting a starting caliber quarterback. Also, he's an underrated runner. So in those 10 games last year, he had 142 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, which puts him on pace for probably about 300 yards and 6 touchdowns in that range.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a factor that I feel like a lot of people are underestimating with Joe Burrow. But yeah, I think he'll have a good 2021 season, and I'm excited to watch him play. He's definitely a guy I'm looking out for later in my draft.
Yeah, no, he's going to be exciting, and as you mentioned, the Bengals, the way they're going to have to win games this year is going to be through offense, and they've got a great receiving core and good running back in the backfield. Joe Burrow is definitely going to be a guy to watch, and even if I'm not mistaken, during his 10-game stretch, I think he had close to 3,000 yards already to begin with. Before he turned towards ACL. So that's a lot of points right there. But I agree. I think that's going to be a guy to watch. Going into my number one guy to watch is I'm actually going to go to another sophomore quarterback. It's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Now, this one might be kind of a shock to you guys because he really has only started 4 games towards the end of last year. So this is really going to be his first full season starting, going to have the full round, the full helm to the offense. But one of the things that really actually brought me to it was his average points that he scored per game on the running side of the ball. Of the 4 games that he started, he averaged a little over 11 rushing points through either rushing yards or touchdowns. I think he had a total through those 4 games, I think about 250 yards. And he also had an average of and then he scored 3 rushing touchdowns during that game. He also can throw the ball as well and had some passing touchdowns. He had two of those 4 games were over 300 yards and had multiple touchdowns as well. So he can put up those points as well. But I'm really eyeing it as he might be a guy if you have him just really for the 1 week. Like let's say you have Patrick Mahomes who his bye week is week 12 and they're playing a weak defensive team. Jalen Hurts might be able to run a lot over that team. So just for example, Philadelphia is playing the Jets week 12. If you have Patrick Mahomes and you have a bye week 12, that might be a great matchup because the Jets are going to have they're just going to have a little bit of a weaker defense, and Hurts might be able to capitalize and have a big game. And so when I see the rushing stats that I have him, that's one of the reasons why Lamar Jackson is one of the better fantasy quarterbacks because he gets so many rushing touchdowns. I think Hurts is going to develop into that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Jalen Hurts, A lot of good things coming out about him in training camp, just about his overall leadership and his ability to make throws.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think he is a mid-late round QB prospect that you could definitely plug and play for matchups. I know some guys like to do 2 quarterbacks and then play whichever one has the best matchup. So yeah, I definitely think Jalen Hurts is a good one. My next guy, I'm going to stick in the AFC North division. A sleeper pick that I really feel like a lot of people are underestimating is Baker Mayfield, the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So Baker was QB 17 last season, but a lot of his production came in the second half of the year, kind of as his weapons got healthier, as he got more comfortable in Kevin Stefanski's offense. And I think that progression is only going to transfer over into 2021, and it's going to get even better. So he had a 63% passing completion rate last year. He had about 3,600 passing yards, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions.
Wow. Okay.
And he actually had about 170 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, which isn't a ton, but just a little bonus on top of that. So I really think that Baker, especially going into his 4th season, is going to be the best version of himself that we've seen. He got better from his sophomore season to his 3rd season in the NFL. And OBJ is coming back. He'll have Jarvis Landry. He has one of the best tight end duos in the league in David Njoku and Austin Hooper. And Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield are really going to allow them to pick apart weaker secondaries because they have to bring more guys up in the box. Yep. So Baker Mayfield is a guy to look out for. And his ADP is 121. So if you're in a 10-team league, that's round 13, pick 1.
Yeah.
And so I really think, especially even if you just want to use him as a matchup starter, Baker Mayfield is a guy to look out for late in a draft because I think a lot of people are sleeping on him in the Browns offense.
Yeah. No, Baker Mayfield, he seems like a very reliable pick. As you mentioned, you said he only had 26 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions?
26 and 8.
26 and 8. All right, but that's very reliable. You're getting a lot of positive points. You hate seeing any negative points, but especially from your quarterback, you don't like seeing it. So that's very solid. He's like a very reliable guy. But now, kind of moving on to the last sleeper quarterback that we have for this episode, and it's someone that we've talked about a lot, someone that we're both very high on, and it's going to be the rookie BYU quarterback, now the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson is going to be one you could get very late in the round. I think a lot of people are going to be skeptical on how, I would say, potent that this New York Jets offense is going to be. But one of the reasons why I think he might be a good pick is because they have a very weak schedule. If you look at the schedule of their teams, a lot of teams have weak defenses. They do have to play the Patriots twice and the Bills twice as well. But they also play the Bengals have a weak defense, Titans weak defense, Falcons, Broncos. The Panthers had an okay defense, Texans, Eagles, Jaguars. They're playing a lot of teams that have very weak defenses. And if you're in just a 1 quarterback starting league, if you can match up the right week when your starting quarterback's on a bye to when Zach Wilson is playing a weak team, such as, I'll use the same example. Week 12, if you have Patrick Mahomes, they're playing the Eagles that week. That's going to be a home game against a very weak defensive team. Zach Wilson might be a good option for you. Another thing as well is the Jets, for all the receiving weapons that they have, Jameson Crowder, Keelan Cole, Elijah Moore now, they don't really have a solidified running game. So they might be throwing the ball a lot more. And with how quick he is and the way that the game is evolving, I'm a Falcons fan. I was watching the game the other night. Felipe Franks, I think, had like 75, 80 rushing yards, and I think maybe a couple dozen passing yards because it was more effective for him to run on his feet than to throw the ball. And there might be times Zach Wilson was like, hey, no one's open. I'm just going to run the ball for 10 yards, and then there you go. There's a point. You go get a rushing touchdown. I think he's going to have a lot of those type of games where he'll have a couple hundred passing yards, but also 50 rushing yards with a potential rushing touchdown as well, which is going to help add on those points. So I think Zach Wilson is going to be a great quarterback that you could probably get in some of the later rounds for.
I want to say his ADP is like 191, so that would put him, outside of any any 10-team draft. He's a free agent.
Yeah.
So, but definitely, I know Mike LaFleur, that's their offensive coordinator, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I know he definitely likes to, I don't say dink and dunk, but he definitely likes to spread the ball out and get people open in space. So I think Zach Wilson is going to actually be one of the leaders in yards after catch this year, because I think they're going to be running a lot of slants and kind of just getting guys the ball in space. And so I was
going to say, just help pack that stat book, baby. Just pack
yeah, exactly. And I think Zach Wilson will definitely be the benefactor in that situation. Yep. So I'm excited to watch Zach Wilson and the entire Jets and just all four of these guys. I think that these are going to be guys that are going to kind of rise up and be good tier 2 quarterbacks, like you said in the beginning. We're all going to want the Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. But when those guys go in the first 2 or 3 rounds, you can load up on wide receivers and get good value on these quarterbacks later in the draft. So, yeah. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Tracy Take, a little bit of a fantasy football rendition here. But if you guys have not already, go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what you guys thought. If we missed any sleeper quarterbacks, let us know who you think is going to be a top 10 starting caliber fantasy QB this year in the comments.